Hi, it's Xanthe here. I don't really feel like speaking, but I'm going to try. I actually had to end. Well, my psychologist actually suggested I ended our therapy session early because I was just really tired. But she said I'm doing all the right things. But I am really fatigued at the moment, and part of it is probably just adjusting to just a little bit of a meds adjustment. I did have a little window of feeling more alert this morning. I went for a bike ride the first time since my accident. I went to work for about an hour. I managed to kind of tidy my room up a little bit. And then now I'm kind of feeling pretty much brain dead. But I feel like I need to comment on this bullshit from I'll call them the neuro nuts. I've been turned into a first blog post for some blog, anonymous, but I can probably guess who it is, going from the bullshit that's gone down on LinkedIn. It's called Dismantle Hate. It's the laziest blog post ever because what they've done is basically pull out of order threads from LinkedIn. Basically, people who subscribe to the neurodiversity and neurodivergence ideologies, and I'm going to call them ideologies because they act like cults. They really get obsessed with me. And the reason they get obsessed with me is because I don't validate bullshit. And by bullshit, I mean these people who are capable of having for years on end and decades on end careers of their choices, in careers that have high burnout rates, that deal with lots of people, plus juggling relationships and families and other bullshit, and advocacy. I don't even like calling myself an advocate anymore, but you know what, in recent years the most trendy self-diagnosis is ADHD, and they call it ADHD, and autism, which they call autistic, because they want identity. Why I see it as an ideology is they will not tolerate any difference of opinion, and they just will go for you. So anyway, should I be flattered that they have turned me into the subject of a first blog post called Dismantle Hate? I'm not going to read it all out because it's all a bunch of fucking shit. But anyway, and also it will take too long by the time my video will cut out, and also I'm really tired and I just need to kind of have a rest. So just as an aside, I do have rateable impairment from doctors, and it's kind of the category of mental injury. She's struggling to even speak right now. They consider most of my impairment to be post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD, and bipolar disorder type 1, which I've talked about previously. My autism spectrum features since childhood. I've already rehashed all that shit, but just to give you some context if you have not come across me before. Anyway, let's have a look at this. So they've called it a case study and given it a big freaking number to make it look fancy, and it is completely focused on me. The opening post, I'm just going to paraphrase it. It was someone who's very insecure about with their self-diagnosis of ADHD in this case, and they feel that their identity has come into question because they don't have a clinical diagnosis, and they were very rattled. And this is not by me, by the way. This is, I don't think anyway, someone maybe, I don't know, just maybe accidentally commented on this person before, I don't know. But anyway, this person says that they know because they've researched it, and also they're an ADHD assessor, so they've done their own evaluation on themselves. So anyway, and then all my friends have it. So it's got the peer, thing. So, and I feel it, I know it's real. This is just conviction. It's the same as religious conviction. It is completely faith-based and belief. Subjective, completely subjective, completely opposite to scientific. Okay, so scientific should be open to being wrong, and should be able to have someone else also verify that is not just your mate. Okay, so in a way they've got all these hashtags: self-diagnosed ADHD, self-identity, ADHD, which is the new phrase they like to use for autism, and ADHD together made into an identity. I'm so bored with this shit, but anyway, I should really try and refrain from commenting on this shit, but I can't help it, because the reason I comment, just to give you the quick version, if I can, my brain being a bit kind of scrambled, is I feel that this whole identity politics bullshit is watering down diagnoses, which harms people who do have moderate to severe difficulties, because it's so trivialised that people now think that autism and ADHD is just the bullshit you see in social media these days. It's bullshit. And then also these people in the second breath are saying it shouldn't be called disorder because they don't like that word. It shouldn't be called impairment, they don't like that. So these people don't know shit. Anyway, I'm not going to read out every frickin' thing, but one of the things they like to do is pull the suicide thing, trying to say it's a high rate of suicide, which I basically said, well, there's actually lots of conditions with a high rate of suicide, and a label isn't going to fix that if someone's got to struggle with that. And I wish those dogs next door would stop barking because they're really annoying. Anyway, so then they label me a troll, which is what they like to call me if I make a comment, which goes, and that's another reason I see it as an ideology. It is very much like a cult. If you make a comment that goes against their narrative, they just label you as a troll and all go for you. And then they like to use these little words like ableism. Trying to say that, you know, to say why I'm critical of the practice of self-diagnosis. And I'll just read what I wrote as a reply here. I say the why has nothing to do with ableism. It's because of subjectivity. Several diagnoses cannot similar influences are watering down medical diagnoses into non-impairing traits in half the population. Diagnosis has been trivialized and made into stereotypes that have nothing to do with the original criteria. Those who are managing to juggle relationships, careers, family are clogging up waiting lists. Those who make watered down diagnoses into identity preach there are no severe presentations. The word disorder and impairment, that the words disorder and impairment need to be abolished. My grammar's not great even when I'm writing this because I miss words out and sometimes it makes it change the meaning. Anyway, I said in other words, they're harming those who depend on support services. And then of course they go, are these all just your opinions? Or a result of your experiences looking through your lens? Or are they the result of research involving other people's experiences, thoughts, etc.? Actually, both. But you know, a lot of these people, they're just sort of new in the block with all this watered down bloody version of everything, because they want this identity thing, because without it they don't feel like they know themselves or something, and they don't need to rip off medical conditions. Anyway, someone noticed that I blocked them because I didn't read this bit before. I already skimmed read this whole thing. It goes on for ages. They go, Black identity, why it says blocked me. Okay, I blocked them when I kind of really had enough of people. I've actually also blocked this account of this basically taking their selected version focused on me as the subject. Okay, so and then they say something about asking me why people don't deserve to be diagnosed, and it's out of order, so it's not very useful, but basically the deserved thing, I said that, you know, it's not something you earn. I mean, yeah. And And also I pointed out, because they're saying, well, there's nothing, no support for us anyway, so how are we taking resources? And I pointed out that waiting lists are long, assessments are resources. And I said, these are the people who said they pass as neurotypical for decades, so that even their own spouse didn't notice anything. So these people should not be priority on waiting lists. And then, of course, they're so true to say why they think this. And the thing is that they have distorted, especially autism, to the opposite now of what it was. It's quite bizarre. They've made this new stereotype with no impairment, but now you can be exceptionally good at speaking, you can be hyper empathy, you can be super duper communicator doing speeches and going all traveling around the country doing freaking speeches and shit like that. Okay, anyway, let's just come back to this and summarize, paraphrase, because my brain is tired. And of course they go, self-diagnosis is valid, full stop, but if you need accommodation at work, regardless if you can pass, it won't help unless you get that slip of paper, and you're hostile if you do. Well, the thing is, if you've been working full-time in your freaking high-paid, demanding career, yeah, I probably won't really kind of take you seriously. And they try to say that because they've researched it by having lots of bookmarks, and they said, don't, you know yourself better than anyone, don't let people like Xanthe gaslight you into not seeking the help and support you deserve. And that's where it's out of order. I said that, you know, it's not like something you deserve. So I wrote, self-diagnosis isn't valid, though, not with the medical profession, legal profession, or legal system, or education system. And I know this because I've been through all this bullshit, right? Telling yourself, you know, with diagnosis and all these systems, I know what they're like. Telling yourself a lie doesn't make it the truth. Clearly, people who pass as neurotypical their whole lives have mild issues. And I put here, meanwhile, those who have moderate to severe struggles are now swept under the carpet by those who make money from evangelizing diluted down versions of diagnoses, ripping off medical diagnoses and turning them into identities. And as for that, don't let people like Xanthe gaslight you. I put, are you really that insecure in your diagnosis? I've never had the privilege of passing as neurotypical. And they go, stop gatekeeping. Not everyone is privileged enough to be formally diagnosed. Blah, 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 blah. And then they said something about trauma masking. And then they said undiagnosed people don't pass. I actually say the password because that's what they use their freaking selves. These are some popular social media influencers who are making money out of this. They said themselves they pass. They are indistinguishable from the neurotypicals that they like to mention. So anyway, I mentioned trauma masking, and incidentally trauma can look the same, and something can be done to help trauma. And I also put midlife career burnout and high burnout rate careers is now being called autism. Trauma is being called autism. Anxiety is being called autism. So yeah, someone goes, after reading additional comments in this thread, it is clear you are being intentionally dismissive of other people's experiences, especially if they don't match your own. Projection to the fucking max. Okay. Many people seem to be engaging in conversation and showing curiosity while you seem to be focused on your own negative experiences. No, they just want confirmation fucking bias all the time. They want everyone to say the fucking same thing just to make them all believe it. So anyway, after ranting on a bit, they said, I don't continue to engage with people who are intentionally obstinate. Oh, I suppose you could put it down to my autism spectrum features, couldn't you? Anyway. And I put, you are correct in these new age actually autistics. Don't match my experiences whatsoever. Oh no, I match my experiences at all, I said. It is now trivialized into zero impairment whatsoever. Spelled impairment wrong. So it's out of order, a whole bunch of shit here, so I'm just going on. And I pointed out that bipolar disorder can look, and ADHD can look similar to each other. So, you know, you need to have someone rule out bipolar disorder and trauma and a whole bunch of other shit. Okay, so, and then they get childish because they'll go, see, now you're conflating and assuming way too much for me to take you seriously. So I put, you're projecting too much for me to take you seriously. And then, thanks for participating in the Dismantling Hate research project. The research project just basically ripping off some stuff from LinkedIn. If you would like to continue this conversation, please email us at blah 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 blah. Yeah, so that they can try and bait me to try and say something that they can try and use against me. Yeah. And says, I'm not going to argue with you here. It's a waste of everyone's time. Yeah, waste of my time too. And contradictory to the goal of the OP's conversation. I would, however, like to involve you and your personal opinions in a peer-reviewed case study. How would you peer fucking review? Just because it is a popularity contest. It is like they all decide that this is what the current in thing is. Yeah. So, and this is way out of order because this is early in this read. I switched calling valid criticism hate. Just goes to show there is something, you know, is hitting a nerve. Because truth is uncomfortable, eh? And they go, yeah, so funny. Looking forward to learning more about you. I say, well, people say they like my sense of humour, just keeping it real. Let's have a look here. So then they try to bring in the issue is that autistic and ADHD girls and women are often incorrectly diagnosed as BPD or anxiety rather than autistic and or ADHD due to bias, poor training and reluctance to relabel them, blah, blah, blah. I mean, why can't the misdiagnosis go the other freaking way? It's just whatever is currently cool at the moment. Bipolar disorder, borderline personality disorder, and other things, schizophrenia and stuff aren't cool. They have more stigma, so, you know, they like to say they're all misdiagnoses. So, and I also pointed out that they also try and encourage people to stop taking their meds. They did it with me. You know, when you're a vulnerable person, it can be very, very easy to get sucked into all of that. Actually, one of the reasons I stopped taking my meds some years back, and it was actually on video, if she got the footage, denial of the diagnosis, bipolar disorder. I was off my meds. Well, she got on camera in many episode. It's actually my most viewed video now, over 70,000 views. I don't make 1 cent from sharing what I share. On my videos. Yeah. Let's have a look. So then they try to, you know, use the authorities of blah blah blah. Skipping through. People conflate the words disability and impairment too, by the way, because they want to use the word disabled as an identity, but they don't want impairment as part of it. Then they try to do these suicidal thing. I said that I have seen people admitting to exaggerating to try and get a diagnosis, putting on a performance. I've actually seen several people admit to that. And Then they try to use the broken horse zebra. I don't know if you've ever heard of that analogy. That they felt broken unless they get this label. I mean, the freaking label's not going to change a fucking thing if you really do something. So anyway, I'm skipping through, and that is going to be the end of that.